Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and I'm doing the June Mission Inspiration Art Journal page. That was started by Mike Deacon, and he made a Facebook group for it, and I'll post that link in the description below. And every month you get 10 journal prompts that you have to do in order. That's the mission. And the first prompt for this page is gluing down fragments of food labels from cans. Now, I didn't have any cans or empty cans, so I used the paper from the Keebler graham cracker crust, you know, that thing that's glue dotted on that lid. And I'm gluing that with Matte Medium by Blix. And the journal I'm using is the same journal that I used for the main Mission Inspiration page, and it's actually something that I made. We get these mailers or booklets in the mail from Boyd Gaming when their casinos is not too far from my house. And the booklets are really neat. They're like 8 pages in there, and it's a good size, so I took 4 of them and glued them together. And the booklets are actually like 8 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it's a good size. And this page that I'm working on, it had leftover paint from previous journal pages and stuff that I was working on, not wanting to waste the paint. And then I was working on something else, and I was pouring the cream paint, and I poured a little bit too much. So I used that leftover paint onto these 2 pages. So I could have poured it back, but I wanted to use that paint because the leftover paint that I had on these pages were mishmash and wasn't really covering what was on the page it is with the casino. Setting that to dry, and the next step is putting a thin coat of gesso on the page. And the gesso I'm using is the Donna Rani white gesso, and I'm almost at the end of this bottle. I know I should get some more, but I haven't yet. And I did you can see I took the lid off of that, and I put a piece of wax paper on it because I was having a hard time trying to open that lid for a while. And once I finally got it open, I decided let me put some wax paper on top of that, and it made it easier to open. I mean, there's still quite a bit of gesso in there. It just was getting hard to get out of the bottle with the lid on. And it seems every time I do a video, it's always the side view because that's the easiest, because I can see my viewfinder. Well, not viewfinder. I can look at the back of my digital camera to see if, I'm recording and have any battery life still left and stuff, and see where I'm recording and stuff. But the angle that I have in it, it's always different. I try to point it away from me and not toward me. So you're seeing more of me, and you can still see my desk, but I'd rather see less of me, if you know what I'm saying. So once that's dried, the third prompt is making marks using household items. And I'm getting my household items. I'm using a lid from a jelly jar or a canning jar, a lid from my vitamin bottle, and a cardboard circle from that had washi tape around it. And I'm getting black paint. And the bottle of that black craft paint is Craft Smart, but it's not Craft Smart paint. I have a 16-ounce jar of apple barrel paint that I got on clearance at Michael's. And when that Craft Smart bottle is empty, I refill it with the paint because that's easier to pour than the 16-ounce bottle. And that smaller one is the washi tape thing. And now I'm using the vitamin jar lid. And I was looking for other mark making tools behind my area, and this is actually a thimble, but well, not a thimble, a spool, and the spool was actually had a rubber stamp on the bottom of it that fell off, and that actually makes a good mark maker. Add that to my stash. And next on the list, well, I'm going to heat set this. Next on the list is making splatters and drips with paint. And I'm using, or going to be using, the Daler-Rowney FW acrylic inks in magenta. Yeah, processed magenta. And I didn't add any water to that like I usually do to make the drips. And this took a really long time to dry. Now I'm getting ready to make the splatters, and I'm going to be using that acrylic ink. And I'm splattering, and I'm going to be using the leftover black paint on that tray as well. Light splatters, but it gets everywhere, even on my wall. And those spongy things don't work to get them off the wall. Now I edited out the drying time for the drips, and I still didn't get all of it dried. But anyway, the next step 5, collage words from magazines. And I went through my words from magazines thanks to Pack or Die, and I found a couple that I'm going to be trimming. And I'm going to be using matte medium to glue those down. And I noticed while I was trimming that I got a little bit of that acrylic ink on my magazine words. So I took a baby wipe and wiped some of them off before it dried. And I'm heat setting that again to make sure it gets dried. I'm getting the placement of the words that I want. More of making sure everything fits on that page. And I was gonna use like Elmer's Gorilla Glue or the craft Gorilla Glue that I got at the 99-cent store, but I decided to use the matte medium to glue these words down. And you see me, I try to get the water off of the brush on the cup, but I have a old nightshirt that I've been using like to get rid of excess paint and water off of my brushes. More water than paint. And you see it smeared a little bit, the ink, when I was brushing the matte medium on, but I kind of liked how that looked. I forgot a step. Oops. Step 6 was focal image, and I'm going through pages that I tore out of a book called Humans of New York by Brandon Stanton. This was given to me a couple years ago from a friend for Christmas. And I'm going to be using the dog. I would have gone through my magazine images, but those images from the book were right by my desk, and my magazine images are underneath my desk, and I didn't want to go through all those images. So I'm cutting him out. Trimming him to make sure he fits on the page, because he didn't fit all the way in the page. And set him aside because I thought I would use my stencil before I glue him down. And I'm using the wonky circle stencil from Wow Studio. And I'm going to be using Red Hot Craft Paint by Apple Barrel, and it's a gloss. And I was looking for a sponge. The sponges from the 99-cent store are, I'm not really crazy about them. I like the ones from Dollar Tree. And when I went to Dollar Tree, they didn't have them. And for gluing the dog down, I am using Aleene's Tacky Glue because the paper is thicker than magazine. Now the stencil part was number 8. I totally forgot number 7, which was gluing circles of paper at random. Oopsie. I don't know how I missed that one. Now I'm going for step number 9, which is a stamp. And I'm using a script stamp by Ink and Inkadoo. And I'm using Galaxy Gold from Brilliance. It's an archival pigment ink pad. And that poor dog had got some of that pink, or the magenta ink on him. I kept having to wipe him with the baby wipe. He also got the gold ink on him too. Luckily, it all came up. And the final step is doodle. I don't really doodle. I was gonna doodle the border, but the ink was still kind of wet, so I just went around the words of the magazine words. I first used the gel pen, and that wasn't really working, so I went with the on standby was the Bic pen. And that's about it, and now you're going to see some pictures of the final product, or final pages. That's it for now, and thanks for watching.